Why is it that 80 to 90% of budding online entrepreneurs fail or quit before they see success? So we're talking about a very small portion of people that manage to see it through and have a level of success, and the vast majority don't. And so there could be the next 7, maybe even 8-figure idea trapped between someone's ears. So if it's not the knowledge, if it's not the idea, if it's not the expertise that was the problem, if that was epic, then it was something else. I think that a big reason is not necessarily that that idea came into full fruition and then was launched and then got in front of people and then people just decided they didn't like the business. I think that people fail/quit at a stage that is far earlier. And so I'm going to take you through the same exercise and the same points that I made to my clients, and hopefully they benefit you as well. Here's what I think you need to do. I was talking with a guy called Steven Bartlett. He's come and spoken at our events a number of times now, and we were backstage having a chat. One of the questions I asked him was, you've built a social media following now to tens of millions. You have amassed hundreds of millions, if not billions of views across all of your videos at this point. What's one thing, if you could go back in time and you could point to, that was one of the pinnacle moments that sent me off into this path of success? And he thought for a minute, and he said something that I've never forgotten and has really struck a chord with me. He said, and I quote, "Hey, it's Jon Penberthy here. Welcome back to another episode of the Expansion Podcast. And today we're going to be talking about something that just recently came up in one of my client groups, and it was a really hot topic, and I actually think that it would be really beneficial to share with you as well right now. We had some massive transformations in our group as we started to unpack what we're going to go into today. And it's this. Why is it that 80 to 90% of budding online entrepreneurs fail or quit before they see success? Some online studies show that happens in the first year. So we're talking about a very small portion of people that manage to see it through and have a level of success, and the vast majority don't. And so we're going to unpack a little bit today as to why that might be the case, perhaps why you are stuck, but more importantly, how we can make sure that you don't stay stuck there, so that idea that you've got in your head that you know has not reached anywhere close to its full potential, perhaps we've got a greater shot at the end of this episode to make that a reality. I just think about the graveyard of ideas that just never got out there, and why? Because for many of you, for many of the people that have failed or quit too early, they've got a good idea. There's no doubt about it. They've got great expertise. There's no doubt about it. They could have a massive impact on the industry that they're trying to serve. There's no doubt about it. There could be the next 7, maybe even 8-figure idea trapped between someone's ears. So if it's not the knowledge, if it's not the idea, if it's not the expertise that was the problem, if that was epic, then it was something else. Something else got it stuck in the production line and never got out into the hands of those that needed it, not nearly enough for that idea to perhaps keep going. I believe I know why that is, and I want to share that with you right now, and then we're going to unpack it. I think that a big reason is not necessarily that idea came into full fruition and then was launched and then got in front of people, and then people just decided they didn't like the business, didn't like the product, and it just didn't take off from there. I think that people fail/quit at a stage that is far earlier than that. And it's actually why, when I put this together, it's one of my client resources. If you're watching the video version, you'll see it. This is called the Momentum Framework. And it's a framework, it's a 5-step model that I built and put together off the back of the 40 million that I've generated selling stuff online, doing this online entrepreneurship stuff. My clients have used this to do 122 million as well. And it's all up here in step 1. And step 1 is the foundations. It's called getting your house in order. We've talked about this before here on the podcast, but we didn't then spend time to unpack it. There's a reason why it's here at the very top. Because most people jump too quickly to step 2, which is driving traffic, social media, all the fun sounding stuff. And then step 3 is marketing, step 4 is sales, and so on and so forth. And people jump too quickly to these more fun sounding places, but then there's no strategy. they don't really know who they're trying to speak to. So no wonder their social media doesn't take off. No wonder they don't get any traction and generate any traffic. No wonder their marketing's not doing anything substantial. And no wonder they're not generating any sales, because they don't have step one. They don't have their house in order. So we're going to unpack this a bit. If you want to follow along with this blueprint, it's a fantastic resource. I think it will really help you. Wherever you're listening to this or watching this right now, we'll leave a link to it in the description box. It's a free download and you can grab it. At the very top of the momentum framework, everything starts with you. And this is the part that I resisted for a long time. I thought that it was all about traffic and sales and marketing and, forget all of that woo-woo mindset stuff and, me getting in my own way and imposter syndrome and all that kind of stuff. I just thought, that doesn't really mean anything. Let me just, if I can just drive traffic, I'll succeed. And it took me a long time to realize, actually, this is not just important, it's critical, it's paramount. There are so many ways that perhaps you are getting in your own way and you are actually sabotaging your success without even realizing it. And if we don't identify the issues, then that 7-figure idea that's trapped in your head will never come out. You'll never get traction. You'll never get momentum. And I think most people, as I've already said, I think they fail because they just fail to launch properly. They don't have their house in order. So what does this really look like? Let me share something with you. I call this the PDPM cycle. And I think most people, most likely the 80 to 90% of people that fail, they get stuck in this. It's a trap. It's a vicious trap that most people get stuck in. Let's identify the 4 parts of the PDPM cycle. It starts with you getting excited about an idea, right? You've had a business idea, you've watched a video training, you've purchased someone's course, you've had an idea for a product, you're feeling good, right? And then the P in PDPM kicks in, and that is perfectionism. You are so keen to make sure that whatever it is that you launch is perfect. It's got to be good. You're going to put your name on it. You're going to put your stamp of approval on it. If it doesn't work, if it flops, if it fails, then there's going to be such embarrassment coming back your way that you are not willing to let that be a possible reality. And so you'll stay stuck in perfectionism. And we can stay here for some people years. We're just tinkering with an idea and perfecting it. And we pretend that that's work, but really it's just us staying in a comfort zone, right? And so then perfectionism then leads to the D, which is doubt. The longer you stay stuck in a cycle of perfectionism, then doubt inevitably creeps in. You doubt whether your idea is actually a good one. Are you even working on the right project? Is the industry moving on now? Are you still following the most current way of doing things? And that doubt then leads to the next P, which is procrastination. Now you're not even working on your idea. You're not even perfecting it. You're actually just procrastinating. You're doing busy work. You're wasting time just procrastinating and twiddling your thumbs because you're so nervous about launching this thing now, because you're so full of doubt. And then you're waiting for the M to kick in, and that's motivation. And so then you're waiting for a podcast like the one you're listening to right now. You're waiting for a YouTube video. You're waiting to go to a seminar, an online webinar, or some kind of presentation where the person's going to speak to you in a way that gets you re-enthused, excited again, and you're freshly motivated. And of course, that just leads us straight back to perfectionism, because that motivation lit a fire again. You learned some new lessons and you're ready to launch this thing. And then, of course, perfectionism, doubt, procrastination, motivation. This cycle just continues. And one of the saddest things for me, and I was talking with my clients about this, is many people that I work with in my momentum coaching program and things like this, they actually identify it. They know that they're stuck in this and they're just finding it hard to get out of. And one of the really sad things is that it's such a stop-start with this. It's a cycle that you're in, but it actually means that the work you're doing, the mission that you're on, is just constantly stop, start, stop, start, stop, start. I don't know whether you've heard of that analogy of, mathematical equation of a penny doubling every day and what that turns into in a 30-day period. It's fascinating. I'm going to share it with you right now if you haven't heard of this before. On day 1, of course, that penny is worth a penny. Day 2, it's now doubled, so it's worth 2p. Day 3, it's now worth 4. And then 8, 16, 34. By day 10, that penny is now worth $5.20. Okay? Nothing to write home about, nothing too exciting. Where things really start to pick up, if you stay in momentum and the penny does continue to double, what you'll find is between day 11 all the way to day 20, it is now worth on day 20, 5,242. So now we're starting to make something of this. That's actually getting a bit exciting now. The compounding effect is really kicking in. The exponential growth is kicking in. Between days 20 and 30 is where things go a bit mad. So by day 30, that penny on day one has now turned into 5,368,000. Insane. A penny to 5 million. Now, if we just translate that into what we're trying to do here when we're building our businesses, for us to go and scale this business, for us to get traction, for us to drive traffic, for us to have marketing that's working, for us to build a team, for us to scale, have a massive impact, get those speaking engagements, launch these events, all the cool stuff that we want to do. That's the day 30 stuff. But we're staying stuck between day 1 and day 10. And it just feels like stop, start, stop, start. Day 1, day 10. Doesn't feel exciting. We're only at $5. And now the doubt kicks in, procrastination. Oh, we're back at day 1. And then we go again and it doesn't feel like it's really doing anything and it's not exciting enough yet. So we go back to day 1. It's this constant stop, start. So if we start to identify this, then we can shine a light on the issue and perhaps we can move forward. And so I'm going to take you through the same exercise and the same points that I made to my clients, and hopefully they benefit you as well. Here's what I think you need to do. You need to, as best you can, identify for you what is it that's keeping you stuck in the cycle and stuck in the stop-start. And I'm going to give you some potential options, some things that it might be for you, and hopefully this will help you as you go through this exercise. So it might be, point number 1, it might be you're lacking confidence in yourself and your value. So it might be that the thing that's actually holding you back, you're not confident enough to actually launch yourself and your business properly because you're lacking some confidence. Am I really good enough? Am I worthy of the success that I'm striving for? Do I look a bit funny? Do I sound a bit funny? Am I really valuable enough? You know, you can get stuck in what we call the curse of knowledge, which is that because you know something and you're knowledgeable in an area, you just assume that everyone else knows it. And you don't actually realize that to someone else who hasn't had that particular life experience or hasn't gained that knowledge, to them, you know, you're sharing with them something that's just completely melted their brain. But you just don't realize it. So you've got the curse of knowledge, and then you're doubting the value that you could provide. The second thing is that you could be lacking confidence in your offer, your product, or what it is that you're trying to sell. And there's a big difference between the two of those, because if you're lacking confidence in yourself, you've got to work on yourself. If you're lacking confidence in your offer or your product, then you already know that you're great and you already know that you have value and that people need this. It's just structuring it in a way that is positioned correctly and perhaps reaching the right people in the right way with the right message, perhaps pricing it correctly. All of that stuff is where you're lacking confidence, and then you don't launch the offer because you've got the perfectionism kicking in, right? You want to make sure it's perfect, perfectly positioned before you launch it. Third one, this is going to strike a chord with some of you, and it's a big one. It might be the embarrassment. That might be what's holding you back. You are thinking about launching this business. You know in the beginning it's going to be tough. You know in the beginning it's probably going to be a bit embarrassing. When you meet up with your friends at the pub or the bar and go and have dinner or have some friends around, maybe it's well-meaning. Perhaps they're just trying to have a bit of fun with you and jest with you, but they make those comments, right? They're kind of poking fun a little bit at the fact that you're trying to start a business, and they might call it cute and things like this that just feel a bit patronizing. And it all just feels a bit embarrassing, and you almost don't want to do that, and so that holds you back. I was talking with a guy called Steven Bartlett. He's come and spoken at our events a number of times now, and we were backstage having a chat. One of the questions I asked him was, you've built a social media following now to tens of millions. You have amassed hundreds of millions, if not billions of views across all of your videos at this point. What's one thing, if you could go back in time and you could point to, that was one of the pinnacle moments that sent me off into this path of success? And he thought for a minute, and he said something that I've never forgotten and has really struck a chord with me. He said, and I quote, "Embarrassment is the cost of entry, and most people are unwilling to pay it." And he went on to talk about the fact that the pivotal moment for him was when he truly got to a place where he just did not care what anyone else thought, what anyone else said. It didn't matter. He was on a mission. He had a message to get out there. He had value that he wanted to provide the marketplace. He had businesses that he wanted to build. And the future goal and the outcome that he was striving for was worth more to him than the loss of status in the short term if it's a bit embarrassing. So I'm going to say that again. Embarrassment is the cost of entry, and most people are unwilling to pay it. Is that the thing for you? Perhaps have a think about it. The next thing is dabbler versus doer. I talk about this in my online trainings and webinar presentations. And there's two types of people. Someone who's just dabbling. They're saying that they're serious. They're saying they want this success and they want to build this business, but they're just dabbling, constantly dabbling and tinkering, and they're never actually getting serious. Doers act in a very different way. They just take massive action. They take action when they don't have all the answers. As Richard Branson famously said once, that if someone presents you an opportunity and you don't know how to do it, say yes and figure it out along the way. That's a doer mentality. Some people don't have that. So just think about it. Are you acting like a dabbler? Because if you are, you might want to change your behavior. The next thing is wasting time and doing what I call fake work. Fake work is where you're stuck in probably the procrastination part of the PDPM cycle. And what that looks like is you just spend time learning. And it feels like work to you, right? You're joining every webinar in your industry. You're joining virtual events. You're going to seminars. You're constantly learning, but never actually doing anything. But it feels like a hard day's work because I've just been at an event for 3 days. That was busy, but you're not actually doing anything. You're not implementing anything. So you've got to catch yourself on that. We talked about the next one, which is constant stop-start. Perhaps that's what you're doing as well. Number 7 could be a lack of accountability. You don't have anyone holding you accountable. And if that's the case, no wonder, because it's only you trying to keep promises to yourself and no one knows about them. So it's easy for you to just not keep your word to yourself, and there's no repercussions if you don't. So lack of accountability might be the thing you need. That's why people come to us in our momentum coaching programs. We've got epic training and resources and a community and all sorts of awesome stuff. But actually, some people just decide to pay to play because they just need that accountability piece. And that's the thing that unlocks success for them. The next thing might be allowing that perfectionism to kill your productivity, right? You're just, it's just keeping you stuck and stuck and stuck. And the final one is the stories that you tell yourself, the things that you're telling yourself in your head. You're making excuses, dare I say, for your lack of action. If only I, and then you insert the end of that sentence. If only I had that, if only I could do this, if only I could speak like that, then I would have success. And it just doesn't really work like that. Right? You might be thinking, my offer isn't ready. I don't understand the algorithms. They keep changing. How could I possibly keep up? I look a bit funny. I can't communicate clearly. All of these are just stories that you're telling yourself that's keeping you inside a comfort zone, and it's keeping you stuck. People hear me communicate. I've still got a long way to go. I've got lots of things I can still learn, but I can hold my own here doing a podcast for you and speaking on stage and doing YouTube videos. A previous version of me wouldn't be able to do this. I've had to learn these skills. If you heard the first time I presented, you would laugh. You wouldn't even recognize me. I wouldn't even recognize myself. This has been a learned skill. So it's not a good enough excuse to say, I can't communicate clearly, and so I don't want to put out that piece of content. Don't forget, embarrassment is the cost of entry. So you'll be embarrassed with that first piece of content, but that will lay the foundation for now the second piece will be slightly better. And the third piece will be slightly better. So just think about this for a moment. If right now you don't feel like you communicate well and that's holding you back, well, which is a better outcome? We just focus on that, dwell on that, keep telling ourselves that story, and in 6 months' time, we've done nothing about it, and so we're in exactly the same spot, still moaning about the fact that we can't communicate very well. Or what if we said, I'm not very good at that right now, I want to get better, and so every day we made an improvement, then in 6 months, we might be a pretty decent communicator, and our business might look very, very different. So, in summary, have a think about what is it for you that is holding you back, shine a light on it, and then let's be committed to getting out of the PDPM cycle, whichever stage you're currently in. Let's get out of it. Let's become a doer. Let's take massive action, and let's actually get that brilliant idea that you've got in your head out, packaged up, and out into the marketplace so people can find you. I hope this sparked some kind of encouragement and motivation for you. And let's not make that motivation just put you straight back into the cycle. Let's do something. Let's take massive, imperfect action. And I hope to see you again on a future episode of the Expansion Podcast.